announcements. Jackie, if you would please advance the slide. I also want to acknowledge DPS events, Ms. Jackie Umbles of the DPS team, as well as Rodney LeBeau, who will be our chat facilitators here today and helping run these great workshop programs. We at the Department of Procurement Services, we are committed to communications and outreach and want to make sure that businesses of all sizes and types understand, how to work with the city, how to do business with us, how to become certified vendors. We really want to ensure that the work of government, this economic engine for our region, includes vendors that reflect the diversity and the population around us. So that really is a priority for us. And to do that, we work to have different educational programs and be as transparent as we can about opportunities. So we encourage everyone to visit our website, chicago.gov/DPS. Review our buying plan that has hundreds of opportunities. We collect these from our user departments, as well as our sister agencies, the county, the state, local government entities, to see what government is buying and see how your business can take part in that. We issue a weekly email newsletter, talks about workshops such as these and other events that are put on by our partner organizations. And also please follow us on social media. I'd like to also call out as a follow-up to Mayor Lightfoot's executive order this past March. There is the executive order calls for business diversity program reporting, and that is due next week, July 1st. So we just want to make sure that folks understand that deadline and that reporting requirement, which speaks to, we want to learn how do all of our firms, how do they utilize diverse firms in our Chicagoland area, whether you're working on a city contract or not. So this really is a priority to ensure that businesses that work with the city in any way are really talking the talk and also walking the walk. So that's a really big part of what we're trying to do here and what the mayor has put forth with her executive order. To learn all about us, next slide please, Jackie. We have published a series of resource guides, so we encourage folks to take a look at those. They're at chicago.gov/DPS guides. And you can learn all about how to work with the city in terms of the contract administration side, or what it means to become certified vendor, and how we conduct compliance. And so with that, I just wanted to do a few housekeeping announcements about our session here today. Next slide, please. So today's session, we have a great panel, so I don't want to take up any more of the time here to talk to you about financial resources, but so please, if you have a question from the audience, we want to make sure that your questions get answered. We ask that you use the Q&A panel, and we'll be facilitating that to make sure that your questions get asked of both our host and moderator, as well as our esteemed panelists. So please use that Q&A panel so that we can best facilitate your questions, get them answered. If we can't get them answered today, we will be sure to follow up with you. So we ask that you do that. So with that, I would like to just take a moment to introduce, we are so truly honored to be joined by our City of Chicago Treasurer, Madam Melissa Conyers-Irvin here today. Madam Treasurer has been just a cheerleader, no, a champion for businesses of all sizes within our Chicagoland community with diverse businesses. And she is really addressing systemic racism at all levels, be it through education, outreach, financial literacy, just really tackling it from all fronts. And we're truly honored to have you here with us today to partner with us as we try to bring this kind of education to our business community that we work with. So thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to our continued partnership. And I'd really like to turn it over to you. Thank you so much, Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, Kathy, and so kind of you for that great introduction, and certainly so happy to be with you on today. This is absolutely what I do, absolutely what I love to do, talking about resources to help Chicago residents, resources to help business owners, entrepreneurs. And so I certainly want to take a moment to thank Procurement Services for what they do year round. I remember during the pandemic that I was on one of these panels, and guess what? How appropriate of a time then, because it was the time when needed most. So certainly the procurement team has really stepped up, especially during this pandemic, to make certain that we are helping, providing educational tools, tips, whatever is needed to help those, especially during this time. So thank you, Kathy, and certainly to the rest of the team and the acting commissioner. As mentioned, I am Melissa Conyers-Irvin, and I am so humbled yet proud to be Chicago City Treasurers, and certainly happy to be with you on today, talking to small business owners who are the lifeblood of this city. And that certainly hasn't changed even after a pandemic. We have seen thousands of small businesses struggling over the last year, and unfortunately, too many have closed. But many have managed to pivot and continue serving their customers in new and innovative ways. Certainly a light at the end of the tunnel. Our city's small businesses provide jobs and valuable products and services. They anchor our neighborhoods and generate community wealth. Not only that, but they exemplify the best of our city's innovative spirit and ingenuity. And I'm always proud of Chicago's small businesses community because honestly, I haven't never been more proud than this past year and a half. So while my responsibility as Chicago Treasurer is to protect taxpayers' dollars, it is also just important to protect the financial health and future of our residents and entrepreneurs. And that's why my office has made it a priority to help business owners, entrepreneurs, residents find every possible resources that is out there, from connecting them to accessing loan money, granting opportunities to funding hundreds of grants through the Small Business Resiliency Fund. Now, Chicago has a rich ecosystem of support, and my office is just one part of that. Certainly, DPS is a part of that. The private sector has numerous resources to help small businesses too. And I've often found that business owners are not always aware of the programs and opportunities that exist. Our city has wonderful nonprofit organizations dedicated to helping small business owners. And today we are here to talk to representatives from both the private and nonprofit sector about the resources that you can tap into to help your business launch, scale, get funding, whatever your need is. I believe we are going to broach the subject on today. So let's meet our panelists. First, we have Brad McConnell, who is the CEO of Allies for a Community Business. Now, Allies for a Community Business, formerly known as Axion Chicago, was instrumental in helping many small businesses survive the pandemic. When Axion Chicago at the time, now again, Allies for a Community Business, when they partnered with myself and Mayor Lightford as we provided $10 million to the Small Business Resiliency Loan Fund for businesses in low and moderate income communities. So certainly want to thank Allies for Community Business for your partnership with that. And we also have Ms. Pamela Randall, who is the VP Senior Business Consultant of JP Morgan Chase, and Robert Esquivel, Supervisory Lender Relations Specialist of the Small Business Administration. So let's start with you, Mr. McConnell. I just want all of our panelists to kind of introduce yourself. Tell us about Allies for Community Business, especially those that may not yet have heard of the new name. Tell us a little bit about Allies for Community Business and what it does here in Chicago.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer, for the introduction. Happy to be here. Thank you, Department of Procurement Services. Always delighted to help. So yes, Allies for Community Business supports small businesses that strengthen communities. And we do that by providing the capital, the coaching, and the collaboration that entrepreneurs need to grow great businesses in their communities. So as a nonprofit located on Chicago's West Side, we prioritize Black, Hispanic, Latinx, women, low-income entrepreneurs throughout Chicagoland and beyond. In 2020, we responded to the pandemic by providing $400 million in emergency capital and free coaching to over 37,000 community businesses that were working really hard to survive. And those community businesses that we served last year created or retained an estimated 67,000 jobs. We did that in partnership with the treasurer, with the mayor, with the county and the state and everybody we could find in order to get as many dollars and as much assistance in the hands of small business owners as possible. But we know that's not enough. And so there's much more to do here in 2021. So I'll just spend just a minute talking about what we do and how we do it. So again, of those three services, the capital and the coaching and the collaboration that we think are the crucial components of supporting small businesses, first on the capital, we provide loans and grants. The loans that we provide are between $500 and $100,000 to early emerging and established businesses. And we do that at a fair price. We're a little different than other lenders because we don't use credit scores at all, and we don't judge the value of your personal assets. We just evaluate how well you have managed your debts over the last 2 years and how much cash you have available to make monthly payments to us. That's kind of it. We also manage grant programs, as I mentioned, and we'll continue to do that. We can spend more time later on in this discussion talking about what we know is upcoming for emergency assistance that will be available in July and through the rest of the third quarter. But then on the coaching side, we also provide, as I mentioned, of our three main services, provide the free one-on-one coaching that anyone who wants to start or grow a business may need. Now, you know your business best as an entrepreneur. We're basically here to help you succeed at whatever you're trying to accomplish. So our coaching starts with listening first. You describe to us what you're trying to accomplish, what your challenges are that you're seeking to overcome, and how you think we can help. And so we'll dedicate as much time to your business as you need, and our coaching is always free. And then finally, those collaborative services that we provide, inclusive of, first, we'll help you to get your business license as one of the 8 Chicago business centers in partnership with the mayor. We also are the co-owner and co-operator, co-tenant of the Hatchery, which is the largest nonprofit food and beverage incubator in the country that's based in East Garfield Park at our home. And so we collaborate with another nonprofit called ICNC in order to do that. And then finally, most relevant here, I suspect, for those who are attuned to what the Department of Procurement Services does, we spend a lot of time on connecting business owners of color who are looking to, and women business owners who are looking to get those bigger contracts from institutional buyers. So we help you to get your WBE or your MBE certification and then connect you to hospitals, universities, those big buyers who are looking to find more local entrepreneurs. So altogether, we think that combination of services allows us to provide the kind of assistance that our entrepreneurs in our neighborhoods need. And as a mission-driven organization, we're going to keep providing as much of that as we can for any entrepreneur who seeks it. So I'll stop there, and I'll be here to answer questions later.
Wow. I wonder what questions we can ask after that. I think you've probably given all the answers, Brad, but certainly that was all encompassing and that was such great information. And so certainly for those that are on the line, I always encourage you, when you receive this information, be certain to share it with others. So I really commend those that were able to join today, but please share this information with others. Thank you very much, Brad. Let's move to Ms. Randall. Same question.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. So with JP Morgan Chase, obviously JP Morgan Chase is a very large financial institution. But one of the things that we like to do is kind of break this down in bite-sized pieces, right? So in addition to the standard products and services that are typically offered, one of the things that we like to take a look at is how we are really and truly helping and promoting opportunities within the community, along with providing access to resources, opportunities, and resources, in essence, that really allow the community, whether it's from a small business perspective or an individual perspective, in order to grow and develop. And so we've really been able to do that in a few ways, based upon our large extensive branch network. We have the ability to have knowledgeable retail banking employees that are able to kind of guide individuals and business owners kind of through the process in terms of kind of navigating the opportunities. In addition to that, one of the things that we've been extremely focused on with the firm is ensuring that our supplier diversity efforts are consistent and that we dig really a little bit deeper into providing businesses specifically with access to those additional opportunities. And so for us, what we really try to do is bring the power of Chase to the localized communities so that folks can have not just the traditional banking products, but they really understand in terms of how to going to change their financial wealth opportunities, along with, for example, the relationship with money. So we have actually done a lot around this space in terms of providing community managers, which really work with local communities in terms of ensuring that the residents have access to the correct information to really change the narrative and to upscale opportunities for individuals along with businesses. And so, for us, it's really digging in deeper to ensure that everyone has the same access to the right information and opportunities. We can definitely talk about this more as we dig in deeper into the small business aspect of it. We're really excited to be a part of the discussion.
Thank you. And I've had many conversations with Chase over this past month. Certainly, Ms. Randall, glad you are here to represent and discuss. I had an opportunity to meet with the president of the Midwest, Tony Majori. He had a panel with us through the Treasurer's Office and our Advancing Equity and Banking Commission. So certainly glad that we're going to be able to discuss everything that Chase is doing that can help small businesses. And now we would transition to Mr. Esquivel from the U.S. Small Business Administration. Let's hear from you. And certainly when you introduce yourself, tell us about your role and some of the things that was discussed from our two previous panelists.
Sure. Oh, thank you, Madam Treasurer, for the opportunity, first of all, for allowing us to be on, for the SBA to be on to talk about our programs. And it's great to be on this panel because Brad McConnell, as far as with Allies Community Business, and Pamela Randall Spencer she's with Chase, is a great partner of ours. We're real strong partners, and so we work together. So I'm sure that as far as panelists, we'll work together though too. So the Small Business Administration was something that was formed way back in 1953 as a focus on helping out small businesses. We are a small federal agency, not an association, not as far as an organization, but again, we are a small federal agency. And we focus on 3 areas to try to help out small businesses acquire, as far as to be able to stay in business, to get started, and to expand and to grow. And those 3 areas is counseling. So we offer an array of, as far as counseling services on there. We call them our resource partners. It's usually our small business development centers, and also through SCORE and our Women's Business Development Center, and even our micro lenders offer the technical assistance that we help provide and work along with, as far as like our micro lenders and allies. The other area is contracts, government contracts. We try to offer as far as the learning, the techniques, how to get through some of these, as far as the red tape, and how to bid for a federal contract. We are basically, the federal government is the largest single purchaser of goods and services in the world. We award probably around $500 billion of contracts each year. And the last area that we focus on is, and I shouldn't say the last area because it's probably the primary one, is capital access. So when we look at as far as our loan programs that we have, it's all about as far as trying to help out the small businesses acquire the capital that they need. And the other thing that we have though also is our website. The website is visited quite a bit, usually about 15 million hits a month, if not more than that now. Especially with under the COVID situation, where a lot of people were at home and using their technology as much as possible. So that's a great resource as far as information, including as far as online learning that we have. So I welcome all the small businesses, everybody that's on here to use that. And we have also some other tools on there to try to match up small businesses with lenders. And that's something that we call Lenders Match that's on there. Now, just a quick overview of our loan program. The 7A loan program is an umbrella for a lot of our different programs, but that program goes up to $5 million. It's not a direct loan program. So when I talk about as far as having our strong partners here like Chase, it's a guarantee loan program. It's actually a loan that's done through a bank, and the bank then in turn gets requests a guarantee from the SBA. Now, to enhance that as far as loan that we're trying to get out to a small business owner, that guarantee has now been increased because of the times that we're having right now, from typically 75% to up to 90%. So we have this good loan program that goes on as far as with the guarantee and the numbers wise, So we're asked, well, does it really work? Well, nationally, so far this fiscal year, we've delivered over $21.2 billion worth of financing and guaranteed over 32,000 loans. That's 504-7A loan programs. And here in Illinois, for that same programs, 504-7A, we delivered over 683 million so far this year and guaranteed over 1,100 loans to small businesses. And my feeling is that without those guarantees, without those loans that we were offering to add that flexibility to as far as the lenders out there to their lending policy, I don't think they would have been done without guarantee. That guarantee helps add flexibility for new startup businesses, because some banks will not do startup businesses unless that guarantee helps mitigate as far as some of the risk. Also, lenders will not do a loan standard as far as conventional loans without collateral. If there's a shortfall of collateral, we will not turn down a loan simply because of that deficiency. But our guarantee will help mitigate, again, for the lender, that deficiency. And then longer repayment terms is another key feature. So those are the type of things that we look at and we do to try to help out small businesses. And of course, we've had some special loan programs because of the COVID situation, and it's been a long year and a half. And that's included as far as our PPP, our SVOG, and also our Restaurant Revitalization Fund program. So those are programs that are being done right now because of the COVID situation. PPP has pretty much ended at this point in time. But again, a very necessary program to help out small businesses through these rough times. I'll stop there because I can actually go on forever and talk more about the SBA program, but I think it's probably best suited if we go to the Q&As and answer the questions that our small businesses that are here today participating have as far as wanting to ask. So I'll stop again.
And Mr. Esquivel, you can go on because it's so important. It's so much information, helpful information, and that's always a good sign when we see people working for an organization that they're very passionate about. So certainly thank you for that and what SBA continues to do for businesses. You said over 680 million of guaranteed loans for the state of Illinois alone. I mean, really kudos to the US SBA for that. And we will jump into our Q&As. That was a part of our Q&A as well. But we'll jump into our Q&A. Back to you, Mr. McConnell. Let's start. How can an organization like Allies for a Community Business help small business owners manage the common challenge of cash flow, volatility, and build financial resilience for their businesses?
It's the combination of both the access to the capital that I mentioned before in the form of loans and grants, and the use of the coaching that we provide, which helps to just give pointed, targeted advice on how to use that capital once you have it. So cash is king is a cliche, but as a small business owner, it matters. And so we're trying always to work with small business owners who have that right idea that's going to work, but cash is tight. And they've got to make sure they're making good decisions on a daily basis about what to purchase, how to price, all those things that influence both sides of the P&L, more revenues while stabilizing expenses, and then managing that cash really carefully. So I think we'll try to do our best in every circumstance to listen to what a business owner is trying to accomplish and what their needs are right then, not like forever, but just today. What are your needs today in order to grow over the course of time? And if, as it usually is, it's got to manage cash very carefully, the liquidity question, then we'll talk through what cash is available. If it's grants, do that. Free is better. If there aren't any grants that are available at that moment in time, then we'll work through the loan process, try to figure out either a term loan or a line of credit, whatever's most appropriate for that business owner. And then we'll provide all that free coaching that a business owner might be interested in order to make good decisions about how to put that capital to good use over the course of time while the loan is in repayment.
So the first option is not necessarily to sell your loan. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. McConnell. And then Ms. Randall, can you tell us a couple of important tips that business owners should know when they're looking for capital? And how does JP Morgan Chase help facilitate that process?
Yes, absolutely. And what I'd like to actually also kind of add to Brad's point. Brad, I know you said that cash is king, But I like to say cash is queen, just so that you know. But as
King,
far
queen,
as some
prince,
of the
all of it.
things that are really critical for, for businesses before coming into a lender, it's two things. It's one, simply knowing and understanding the capabilities of your organization. What will the access to the additional dollars do for the organization? How is it going to help stabilize, grow the business to the next level? The second thing, which is equally important and really foundational, is ensuring that you have a team behind you that is really able to prepare you appropriately for these discussions. And I like to say that every successful business has a banker, someone that they have a relationship with. They also have an attorney, someone that is kind of guiding them through the process, and a CPA or accountant that is really digging deeper to ensure that their numbers are in place. And so for a business coming in for access to capital, it's really doing your homework to ensure that at minimum those two things are in place. And ideally, you should have a relationship with your bank or a banker before the access to capital is actually required. That way, the banker can really act as an advisor for you to kind of guide the business through the process. It's really a conversation as opposed to just coming in, bringing in the paperwork or providing the documentation. The advisors like to be alongside you for the entire journey. That's again your CPA, that's your attorney, that's your banker, and other support organizations. The great work, for example, that Allies for Community Business is doing, the great work that SCORE, as part of the SBA, is doing to really help business owners prepare for that next opportunity and ideally determine if access to capital is the appropriate fit. If so, what do you need to do to position yourself for it? If not, are there granted other opportunities that it makes sense to go down those paths first?
Very good. Thank you. And then, Mr. Escobar, can you tell us about any SBA programs that will be helpful for small businesses? You kind of went over some of that, but we kind of went a little into it, if you can elaborate.
Sure. So it depends on as far as what the business is actually looking for. We have an array as far as different programs. One of I consider like our Swiss knife type of loan program is called the Sba Express Loan program. In fact, Chase is probably one of the bigger express lenders in the city of Chicago. And the Express Loan program is basically goes up to $350,000. Temporarily, we've increased that to up to $1 million and also increased the guarantee up to 90%. Now, you can use that funds for any legitimate business needs, including lines of credits, revolving lines of credits. And that's why I call it more like as far as a Swiss knife, utility knife, because it does multiple different things and it makes it easier for the lender to use. So it's a great program as far as what a small business owner is looking to do. You can start from as far as small businesses that are starting up and to a mature business that's looking again for a line of credit. In addition to that, we also have our microloan program. Fantastic partner here is Brad. And the microloan program is, as Brad explaining it, it's a very unique program where we're not doing the direct lending. We have an intermediary that's been approved by the SBA to dispense these loans. So again, we're a great partner in using the microloan program as a smaller loan program that typically is not the niche for as far as traditional lenders. It's just that it's rather difficult for a traditional lender to go ahead and take a look at a loan as small as $500 or $1,000. And this loan can go up to $50,000 in some cases, depending on the micro lenders. So it's all up to them how they want to use it. And in fact, Allies is also one of our Community Advantage loan participants, which can go up to $250,000. So it's another program that's looking for as far as more of a mission focused type of a clientele. So that's what part of our loan program. Of course, then we go from the smaller loans to, as I mentioned, there's Umbrella's 7A loan program up until we have our 504 loan program, which is probably the largest of our program. That is a program that's a little bit more complicated where it requires, it's a three-parter. 50% comes from a third-party lender, could be someone like Chase. And then 40% comes from a certified development company. We have 6 of them here in the state of Illinois. Those are also non-for-profit intermediaries that have been approved by the SBA to participate. And then 10% comes from the small business owner. So it's unheard of. This program is primarily focused for commercial real estate. And so it's unheard of where a small business owner only has to put in 10%. And as far as the program itself of the portion for the CDC, that can be either done for 20 or 25 years. And right now, the interest rate is fixed for that term at 2.8% as far as the effective rate. And an effective rate includes as far as the fees. And again, I don't know of any program that can outdo that 504 loan program. So if somebody's looking to either do a brand new construction, expansion, or as far as just improvements all the way around, or acquiring a brand new piece of real estate. So that's just, again, just a surface scratch of our programs. We have a lot of other different programs under the 7A loan program, including as far as our Capline program, which includes, which might be important here, financing for contracts. So I'll stop there in case there's more questions on any of those programs that we have.
And I think that during this pandemic, Mr. Escobar, for those that had not yet heard of US SBA, I think they are very familiar with US SBA, at least who you are, because we know so many people tapped into the resources during this pandemic. And certainly US SBA stepped up to the plate. And I'm really happy when I look at this panel. This is a panel that works together. US SBA works with for-profit, not-for-profit organizations, larger institutions, smaller institutions. That's what it's all about, really helping those at all levels of the spectrum. So really kudos to all of you for that. And now I'll move into, let's see here. I have a question for, back to Mr. Picano, what I wanted to ask him, because he was talking about coaching as one of the key services. Can you talk about the value of coaching for the typical small business owner and what form it typically takes? And coaching is very important.
Where we start is with the concept that each entrepreneur knows a hell of a lot more than we do about what they are seeking to accomplish and how it's best for them to go about doing so. So we're certainly not in a position to tell people what they should do, how they should do it, as though there's some sort of like particular expertise that only we have. Far from it. We listen first. And so the very first step here is for anybody who's interested in working with us, just go to our site, a4cb.org, and there's a button at the top that says schedule a session. So you click on that, it just opens up a calendar or anything, whatever's convenient for you, you pick a time, and we put aside 30 minutes with one of our community business allies to listen carefully to the problems that you're trying to solve. And then we respond after we understand where we should try to meet you on the journey that you're taking as an entrepreneur with our best practices we developed over the last several years on what we think makes the most impact on building a business for the long term. So let's address both the specific challenge that you're trying to overcome, which brought you to us in the first place, and also go further by putting in place all those building blocks that we think make the most sense for all businesses, but specifically for yours, given what we just heard. So we post all that methodology on our website underneath the coaching section of our site, where there's these 40 milestones that over the course of time we've seen that business owners need to be able to accomplish in order to grow sustainably over the long term. And it just depends on where you are in your business's life as to which of those are most appropriate for us to walk through with you. So that's how we approach it. Listen first, provide good advice, be very specific and tactical about time-focused milestones that you need to achieve. And then let's get to work and put in place the structural improvements that are necessary in order for you to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Excellent. Thank you. Coaching is important. So those that are listening, please make certain that you take advantage of these opportunities. And certainly as we go back to Ms. Randall And JP Morgan Chase being such the large institution it is, of course, philanthropy is a very important topic. So I want you to chime in on that for me and talk about Chase's philanthropic efforts to help support vulnerable and underserved small businesses through your community partners.
Sure, absolutely. This is really kind of closely connected with our overall Path Forward commitment, which was the $30 billion that was laid out as far as a commitment over 5 years to ensure that there's racial equity, right? And so there are different pillars that are associated with that in terms of what is really needed in order to kind of help close the gap. And as you mentioned, Melissa, there are certain things that we are able to do as a financial institution. Like, for example, if we are looking at the corporate philanthropy standpoint, many of the our corporate philanthropy efforts do tie in closely with the nonprofit organizations that are doing the day in and day out work for the communities. So, for example, our partnership with Allies for Community Business, what we do is actually invest in CDFIs and other nonprofit organizations that can drive that behavior to the local support organization, because many businesses work with these groups day in and day out. So how do you ensure that you get enough resources to these organizations so that they're able to have more bandwidth and get the information out to the communities? So we do that in several ways. We do that by ensuring that there's an investment in place with these local organizations. In addition to that, we do that by investing in opportunities that may be around new market tax credits. So, for example, if there is an opportunity to invest in a business, in a project that's going to really help drive and stimulate opportunities within the community, then Chase will go in and create those particular partnerships. The other thing that I wanted to mention around that is the affordable housing aspect. The affordable housing is something that we've been extremely committed to doing, ensuring that there are home buyer grants that are available for businesses that may be, for individuals, I should say, that may be in areas that are under-resourced, to provide access to home buying opportunities for these residents. In addition to that, the financial health piece is critical. We recognize that some businesses or individuals that may be in communities may not have access to the same information. So as part of our overall commitment, what we've done is invested in resources within the firm to ensure that businesses and individuals will have access to financial help. So that might be where, what do you need to do, for example, to improve your credit score? What do you need to do to save more, to develop that wealth management concept? And so that effort has been extremely important to us. In addition to that, the focus on building workforce diversity to ensure that our employees are reflecting the communities that we serve, to ensure that there are opportunities throughout the chain of the organization to reach for individuals that are looking for career growth and career opportunities. And so those efforts are really are behind our overall $30 billion commitment. And then the last thing, of course, is the nature of small business, our $2 billion commitment that is associated with the small business space. And so from a corporate philanthropy perspective, overall, the way we like to look at it is what the business support organizations can we leverage in order to ensure that there are dollars that are truly getting out to the community, so they can so that we can really create a sustainable ecosystem. And from our perspective, we're just getting started, right? So, this is really our first full year into the elevated approach of this, and we plan to do much more, over the next 4 or 5 years.
Excellent. A lot of work being done and even more to come in the future. So that's a great thing. Mr. Esquivel, some small businesses have turned to crowdfunding when times are tight. What is the current state of crowdfunding regulations that small businesses should understand?
I'm going to pass on that one as far as, because it's really not something that the SBA gets involved with. But I will pass it on to anybody else who would like to try to address that particular as far as question.
And there are so many questions. We don't have to fish for that. So believe me, I got another one for you, Mr. Esquivel.
Hopefully it's a good one.
Yeah, that was a question that was posed. So hey, we keep going. Yes. So let's talk about racial gaps in small businesses and outcomes throughout the city. Can you tell us what the SBA is doing to help narrow that outcome divide?
So we don't have any programs that are really geared to say that as far for the underserved market, but the SBA definitely has a focus in our special initiatives to help out as far as the underserved markets, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, as far as minority-owned businesses. Those are definitely special initiatives. In fact, when we try to, as far as show that we're working with small businesses and particularly small banks, community banks that use that as far as that particular target, as far as the underserved market. What we try to do is focus on smaller dollar loans out too, by using them by putting resources into our microloan program. Also something that we call our small 7A program. The reason why we focus on smaller dollar amounts, we recognize that it's the underserved markets that really rely on the smaller loans and not the bigger, as far as bigger businesses that are out there that are not the underserved market. So that's how our approach is. And I think we've actually had quite a bit of success with doing so. We have shown as far as increases in percentage-wise to women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and minority-owned businesses. And specifically, so I have my hats off to allies in the microloan program. That's where we've indicated and showed as far as the increases are there. Those are what we consider our mission focus as far as lending programs, our Community Advantage Loan Program, as well as our microloan program.
And I want the same question for Ms. Randall. Let's talk about that with Chase. Let's talk about racial gaps and small business outcomes throughout Chicago, and what role JP Morgan Chase plays in helping to narrow that divide.
Yes, so that is really part of the Path Forward commitment that I spoke about a little bit earlier. But if we break that down into just more detail, one of the things that we are committed to doing from a small business perspective is to ensure that we put 15,000 new loans out there above and beyond of what we're doing for our businesses that are Black and Latinx. It is a strong commitment. The other is really around the supplier diversity chain in terms of being able to provide an additional $750 million specific to Black and Latinx suppliers. And this way, this will provide them with more opportunities in order to scale up, more access to additional resources to kind of stabilize things. So that is part of our Path Forward commitment. The other thing that we're doing is the Minority Entrepreneur Initiative, which is what I'm extremely focused on. And this commitment is initially started in Chicago, and I am leading the efforts in Chicago, which focuses on providing small business owners with access to information, to resources, opportunity, and potentially capital to help them grow to size and scope so they can hire more folks in their community and create a sustainable ecosystem. And we're doing that by leveraging a few partners. We're doing that by working closely with our CDFI organizations. We're also doing that by ensuring that we're providing individualized and group mentoring to businesses that are within our profile and walking them through the process in order to kind of help them connect the dots. Taking a deeper dive from a mentoring perspective. Brad talked about the power of mentoring. Part of our initiative does provide the individual and group mentoring and access to seminars and other webinars to really help these businesses not only scale up, but to understand perhaps what challenges that they have in order to shore up those potential gaps. We work closely with what we have, the Entrepreneur of Color Fund, which is a collaboration of CDFIs and other institutions that are providing low-cost loans to business owners that might not fit the traditional parameters from a banking perspective. Great news in this is that by doing this by really being committed to this, we're able to help business owners connect the dots. If, for example, it's something that we may not be able to do within the firm, then we're able to leverage an organization like Allies that can work closely and more deeper with them. And we still stay connected through the process. So it's not just a no, it's a here is an additional resource that you can leverage in order to get to the outcome that you're looking for. And our commitment with that is ensuring that right now, from a minority entrepreneur perspective, we're actually in 13 cities across the footprint. And these are major metropolitan markets where we've stood up folks that are employees that are acting as consultants, like myself, that are working closely with these businesses, along with organizations, nonprofit groups, supplier diversity, to ensure that access to opportunities exist for businesses that have potentially been under-resourced and underserved in the past.
This is awesome. And we got two questions. I know we got 8 minutes left, and we have two questions from attendees, but I do have one last question for the panel. It was going to be a round robin question, so it'll be really quick. But I wanted to mention something, piggyback on what Ms. Randall just spoke about, the Entrepreneurs of Color Fund. If you have not heard it, Google it, look it up. Opportunities that so many partners, organizations are involved in. But here's our quick question for the panel for everyone to answer. Anyone jump in. What is the one important resource that your organization offers that you think is least well known? I think that's a great question to conclude with before we get into audience questions.
I would say the technical assistance that we provide, and it's just done through our resource partners, our small business development centers, SCORE women's business development centers, and even sort of connected with the last question though too, we recognize that we want to go beyond our traditional resource partners and offering that technical assistance and also just information about the programs and what's available to as far as the underserved markets. So there's a new program that's coming out that's called Community Navigator. And that program is actually we're trying to outreach to as far as organizations that are in as far as the underserved markets, in Chamber of Commerce and in others. So I think the technical assistance is probably the most important part of it. And I think Brad would probably very much agree with me because that's part of what Allies does, is the technical assistance provide. We have demonstrated and shown that businesses are more successful in repaying their loans when they do have a mentor of some sort to help them through as far as the questions that they need to have answered.
I think for our work, it's likely the licensing assistance that we provide to City of Chicago businesses. It's new. We just became a Chicago Business Center a couple months ago in partnership with the mayor and the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection of the City of Chicago. And so we're eager to help businesses who need to get their licensing and their permits in order to operate successfully in the City of Chicago, but need a little bit of assistance, don't want to go downtown to wait in line at City Hall in order to get that help. Then come to us to the Hatchery instead on the west side at the corner of Lake and Kedzie.
Yeah, I would actually add the Minority Entrepreneur Program that I just spoke with, because it is a newer initiative, which was stood up in October of last year, which does have a technical assistance, if you will, arm from a mentoring and coaching perspective. It also helps business owners connect the dots in terms of what a viable next step may be. Perhaps it is digging in deeper to help that business scale up. Perhaps it is access to capital that we may be able to do, or partner with an organization, CDFI, for example, that may have broader credit parameters that businesses can take advantage of, and then staying with them through the process. The other thing that is tied into that is the financial education and the financial journey piece, which is something that that we provide, making sure business owners and individuals understand what their current financial situation is and what you can do in order to improve that, so that you can have access to wealth management, so that you can, for example, be able to scale up your business by being able to have access to larger credit facilities. And so from my perspective, it really is around the Minority Entrepreneur Initiative, which of course is part of our Path Forward $30 billion commitment.
While we're there, Ms. Randall, let's go to this audience question for Chase. Is Chase currently offering grants and small business funding for small businesses looking to open in certain communities? So you've spoken a lot about all of the grants and funding available. But I think this question is specific to organizations or small businesses that are trying to open in certain communities. And I assume certain means underserved communities. And this is an assumption.
So, for typically our grant dollars go to nonprofit organizations that in turn provide some of the resources and that are needed in order to help these small businesses. So as far as the options of grants directly from a small business perspective, that isn't something that we're actively engaged in, but we certainly partner, with Allies for Community Businesses and Women's Business Development Center that may have certain grant opportunities available. So Brad, you may be able to expand a little bit from a grant perspective.
And thank you, Mary Kay. I knew what you were asking. So she confirmed that, yes, that was the question. And Brad, if you want to chime in on that, and I have one question for you as well. You mentioned that the loans or grants are guaranteed. Credit checks are not necessarily looked into. So how do you measure new business owners to qualify them for either?
Yeah,
loans or grants? And that is a good question because everyone is so used to credit scores, and you kind of went over, you went over it earlier, but it's hard to digest. So just kind of review that again for us.
Yeah, this is a really important point, I think. So if somebody applies for a loan from us, we do look at your credit report, but what we don't do is rely upon that single number, that black box FICO credit score, because we can't control what goes into that. So instead, we look underneath that to the actual details on the credit report so that we can understand your history in a much more nuanced way than that single number would allow us to do. And what that allows us to do then is to strip away one-off things that we don't think have anything to do with your likelihood to repay us. So if you had a medical emergency 18 months ago or 24 months ago, and that caused you to fall behind on your credit card payments for a couple of months, then you caught up after that, that's going to really hurt your credit score, but we don't care about that. Like, that's a one-off thing. We're going to focus on your habits. And if your habits look good to us otherwise, that's good enough for us. So that's why we look at the credit report, not the credit score. So when we're talking about grants, totally different. There's no risk of repayment there because there's no repayment at all. So in the context of grants, all we're looking for is, do you meet the eligibility criteria that we, along with our partner in that particular program, have established? So to pick up on Pamela's point, at the moment, we're working on a grant program with Pepsico, where application closes on Friday. Hispanic food and beverage businesses can apply for free money and free coaching. We very much intend in the month of July to be doing further grant programs with the state of Illinois, city of Chicago. All details be rolled out within the next 2 weeks on both of those programs. And then finally, in partnership with Westside United and the hospitals that we've worked with for several years now and funded in part by JPMorgan Chase, we're going to be continuing to do Westside United grants for businesses specifically in the 10 neighborhoods that are on the west side of Chicago as defined by that Westside United collaborative hospitals who have been investing in those communities along with all of our partners. So those are the current and upcoming grant opportunities, all of which you can find on our site, which is a4cb.org/grants.
Repeat the site again.
Yeah, so easiest way to do it, a4cb.org. Everything you need to know about what we're doing is at a4cb.org. There's a page.
Number 4 or FOR?
Oh yeah, thank you for that. A4CB, using the number 4.org. Page for coaching, page for loans, page for grants. It's all laid out right there.
Great information, wonderful panel. I like the way that you all work together independently as well. I think this is very important. If we are going to move forward, we have to come out of our silos, and organizations must work together. And so I think certainly that the Department of Procurement Services has done a great job this afternoon displaying the commonality, displaying the teamwork that is being done amongst organizations to help all the greater good. That's what it's all about. That's what we have learned during this pandemic. So certainly I'm so happy that the Chicago Treasurer's Office could be able to facilitate, that I can facilitate on this afternoon. This is something that I love to do. I have so much great information. Be certain to go on websites. Follow us on social media. Chicago Treasurer's Office, I'm on there. Chicago Treasurer Melissa Cunningham-Zervin is our handle for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We have our website, chicagocitytreasurer.com, where a lot of these programs, we try to advertise it, but go to these individual sites as well. Follow the U.S. Small Business Administration, follow Chase, follow Allies for Community Business, and make certain that you are on top of what's going on. It's so much out there. And guess what? It's unlimited to what you can apply for. So certainly, thank you. Great time, well spent this past hour. Hopefully those that attended feel the same. And everyone enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Stay safe. If you have not yet gotten vaccinated, get vaccinated. Guess what? They're doing home visits now. No excuses. Get vaccinated. Let's enjoy this beautiful summer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Treasurer. You said it perfectly right at the beginning. This is an ecosystem of support, and thank you for shepherding us through this conversation. We look forward to our continued partnership with your office as well as all of you on the call. And yes, let's all stay in touch with each other. We'll be putting out any information you'd like us to through DPS alerts and through all of our social channels. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Madam Treasurer, for facilitating this conversation, and have a lovely day, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.
Take care. And this recording will be available on our YouTube channel, and we will let our attendees and subscribers know about that.
And of course, they know to follow DPS. I neglected to mention that, but everyone knows that I know that's participating. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Wonderful day, everybody.
You too.
All right.